peeing for accuracy and distance. So I figured I'd give it a little update. I had the motor out at the end of the garage there, testing it for a while. Until I figured out all the bugs. I got the timing right. The choke probably needs to be adjusted a little bit more. Thermostat works fine. It's got plenty of oil pressure. I've got it idling like at, I think around 700-800 RPM right now. Nice, nice idle, not too lumpy. Like I said, I don't know the full specs on this cam to know, whether it should be or not, but I suspect that they're pretty far, the lobe separation is probably pretty far away on it. Anyway, I had a couple oil leaks. These valve covers were leaking in the back, like right along here. And I fixed that. Oh, shit. These are leaking right now because they had water in them. But I fixed that. Let's see, what's the other oil leak? I had an oil leak at the drain plug on the oil pan. That little plug right there had an O-ring that was bad, and it was leaking too, so that wasn't too bad. Like, I guess it was one of those things where it's like the oil leaks that I had on the engine weren't that difficult to fix. I was worried if it was an intake manifold leak, like sometimes they leak like right along here or like right along the back side of the intake on the same thing. These things, I've had them leak here before, and it's a pain in the ass to take that intake manifold off, especially when it's in a vehicle. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything like that. But I also wanted to make sure that I got it running right, and I did, man. This thing is running okay. And I've got it scooted back here in the back so we can push the truck in and load her up, because it's going in. Oh, one other thing I just thought of while I was turning this thing off. But anyway, the one other leak I had was I had exhaust leaks on both of the header flanges. Both of these flanges needed a little belt sand and love in order to seal properly. One of them was bowed out, one of them was bowed in. They're super thick. Now I was going to take it to a machine shop and have the work done if I couldn't fix it, but I was able to actually straighten them out enough to where they seal just fine now. Also, like the little donuts that I cut off on the end of the headers, they were leaking too on one side, not both sides, but one side was leaking. So I gave that a little belt sand and love as well, and it's all sealed up pretty good right now. So yeah, that was the other leakage, was the exhaust, but should be running all right now. Got the truck pulled in. This is same as it was when I pulled the motor out. Just a disaster of a mess. It's just got like grease and just junk all over it. So I got to clean this up. Probably pare down some of the wiring harness, because I don't need most of those wires over there anymore, and so that'll be, I guess cut away and cut apart, I guess, and then just the rest of it needs to be cleaned up, degreased, and all that stuff, including up front there. But but I'm gonna clean that up before I put the motor in, because it's getting there. I just need I put one side of the accessories on. I need to put the other side on, but yeah, it's ready to go in. So this is a diagram of my, kind of like the important part of my engine computer. Like if you imagine like this whole big thing up here is my engine computer with all these inputs from everywhere, and then all this other shit around here, like throttle position sensor, which I need to replace with the thing that I got, the map sensor that I don't have anymore, this hot fuel handling module. I don't even know what that is, but I don't really care about it. IAC, I don't have that anymore. This distributor is gone. I'm not using this distributor anymore. That's the computer controlled distributor. There's the anti-lock brake. So obviously some of this stuff I kind of need. I don't need the computer. I won't need the map sensor. It's just all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. It's a little crazy, but basically what it boils down to is this new motor. I need to kind of trim out the wiring in a smart kind of way, so that all of this wiring in here, and there's a lot of it, you know, I don't see all this stuff, but basically all this, all of this crap goes, you know, went to the engine before. And honestly, I think I need about like, you know, like 2 or 3 wires out of all of this to hook up. But I also need the fuel pump to turn on and all that other crap. So I'm looking into that right now. I did get the engine compartment kind of cleaned out. You can see the fenders and stuff now. I haven't gotten the back side yet, but the sides I've gotten. And my little tanks, they look pretty clean. And I started cleaning off the bottom there too. It's still a mess down there, but it's getting there. And yeah, I'm like actually starting to think about wiring now, because to run the motor, I don't need all that crap, but I need all the crap that's on there to work. So I don't know, we'll see. It's complicated, the wiring system. So I decided to take this front clip off because it's got a bunch of just corrosion on it on the other side. More, you know, it's worse back here. It's just rusted all the way up and down the side. So I'm gonna clean that up, and it looks like a battery exploded or something like that. This is where the battery goes, and if you look like right underneath where the battery tray is, it looks like, you know, it had a leaky battery in it or something like that. So I'm not surprised really that this happened, that this kind of rust happened in place of that. Anyway, I'm just gonna take the whole front clip off and just try and just paint, you know, just take all the rust off of it and give it a coat of paint on there so it stops rusting. I already painted the battery tray. Like I took that out and cleaned it up. It was all rusty too. I mean, if you can imagine, there was, you know, enough rust to, this entire surface was covered in rust. So I just painted it black, and that was fine. But, you know, part of taking this thing off is like a lot of screws. So I was like, well, I'll just use my air ratchet, right? I take my air ratchet out, and the damn thing is just broken, right? It's like I click on the button, and like nothing happens. So I fixed it, but it's got little caveats. When you hit it, when you turn it on, it doesn't actually stop moving. You have to kind of manually stop it. Oh, damn it. You have to stop it. And then, hope that it doesn't go again, and put it on the bolt, and then you can hit it again. So, works well enough, but what happened is kind of funny. There's a little ball valve that goes underneath of that little stem right there, and it was gone. It was just completely gone. I took a look at the parts list on like as far as replacement parts are concerned. I'm just gonna turn this thing off real quick. As far as replacement parts are concerned, and it's like a vinyl ball that goes in there as a check valve. As a check valve when you press this lever. And I didn't have any vinyl balls sitting around, you know, but I wanted to get this damn thing working so I can start taking that front clip off. The only BB that I had that was big enough to fit it, double-aught buck, baby. That's right. One of these little lead balls is the perfect size. If anybody's wondering, it's the perfect size to fix an air ratchet. So I got the radiator support out. I got it in my workshop now. You can see kind of the damage that you can see a little bit easier from here, but yeah, that's some kind of battery explosion there. The top of it and also the bottom rail also kind of look, I don't know, a little mungy, like, you know, a little corroded. Mostly it's dirty right now, but I'd say for the most part the front, except for this side, looks pretty good. I'll clean it all up and give it a new coat of paint so that it's protected. I got the, this is the wiring harness for the snow plow. There's like 2 wiring harnesses in there actually. One for the plow, like up and down, left, right kind of stuff. And then there's one for the lights, which, you know, it has a set of lights on it too. But now that I've got everything out of the way, you know, I'm just looking at what I have to deal with as far as repair is concerned. This body mount right here is, you know, totally rusted out, so I've got to fix that. The other side doesn't look bad. I mean, it's actually in good shape right there. That's just the mount itself, but the other one looks good. The rest of it, like, I was a little worried. It's like, well, you know, it looks really crusty on there and everything like that. But I was in here beating it with a hammer, and it's all really solid. It's just got this kind of scaly crap on it, like there's some kind of coating on it that rusted in like a bubble form. I don't know, it's weird, but once you start banging it, it just peels off to a smoother surface, and I don't know, I gotta get a wire wheel on that and figure out what's going on. But I got I got the motor mounts off too, so that I can clean them up, and just wanted to make sure that all the metal in there was good. I got the wiring harness kind of pinned up out of the way right now, because I think what I'm going to do is take these inner wheel wells off and give them a coat of paint. You can see there's just like a little corrosion on this side. That's kind of like pitting or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what that is. And it's just probably, you know, splatter from 25 years of running in the car. But there's the battery explosion. That just looks crazy. That needs a coat of paint. I was looking also at the underside of them, you know, to the edge where it connects to underneath the fender. And both of them are actually in really good shape as far as that's concerned. They're not like rotted out or anything like that. A little bit on the edge on this one, but you know, the actual fender on this one needs to be replaced. I don't know if you can see this, but like there's a lot of rot on that fender. And there's a little bit of rot on the wheel well part, but most of it is pretty solid, and like the whole body is pretty solid. But like just along the edge, there's a little rust that I could probably smooth out, you know, coat over, like I said, just make sure that it's solid. If it's not solid enough, it's small enough to where I could probably repair it. But that fender's got to go. There's just no saving it. It's rotted out all up along that seam, and I don't know how to fix that kind of crap. This fender's fine. I'll be able to keep it. And this and otherwise, you know, both of this wheel well and that fender are both in really good shape. But yeah, I've got it cleared out now, and it's you know, to the point where I can actually you know, really clean it out, get all that rust off, get a coat of good paint on the stuff that's rusted out, and you know, just go from there, make the rust repairs that I need to, and you know, that's it. Just kind of moving right along. We started reassembling this this front clip, this radiator holder, whatever you want to call it. Got it all painted. I put the cross braces on there. I had the whole thing taken apart. Now I'm just putting it back together. I've got the old condenser I'm going to put back in there. But yeah, it came out all right. I mean, there's no more rust on it. And it's not a perfect paint job or anything like that, but it's all black now, at least, instead of multicolored rust action going on there. So yeah, front clip is going back together. Kind of a better view of that passenger side fender with the wheel well off. Yeah, you can see it's all rotted right up in there. That's where the wheel well attaches to the fender. So that's still gotta go. The frame side doesn't look too bad as far as damage is concerned. It's really only that motor mount that I'm gonna deal with on this passenger side. The rest of it looks, you know, like I said, it's scaly. It just needs to be, you know, sanded off, and it's pretty solid. I'll get a coat of undercoating on there, but closer look at this wheel well. I mean, it looks a little bit more ratty out here, just from perspective that I can fix this though. That's just a small strip along the edge here that's kind of rotted out a bit, right where it connects to that, you know, nasty ass fender. So I should be able to fix that up. Not too much of a deal. There's the battery explosion side of things. That'll sand out easy. It's just surface rust on that. Got the passenger side wheel well all repaired up. Got a new piece in there, welded it in, drilled some holes. That should be good to go. That needs paint there. It needs to be cleaned up and painted and everything like that. But I took out the driver's side wheel well, and it is a lot worse than it looked from the bottom. I got the wire wheel to it, and it just is, look at that, rot on top of that thing. So I'm going to have to do a repair on that one too. No biggie. Got a lot of access to my frame rails, at least at this point, so that'll be good. I was out here fabricating the radiator mount for my, you know, for my truck, and I just thought I'd give you a little picture. Look at that little template I made, huh? How is that? What is that doing in this movie? Anyway. When I make these things, when I fabricate stuff, I usually cut out little cardboard templates. That one just looks a little weird. But these two are what I used to make the mount for my for the radiator mount. I think it'll work out good. I've already cut all the old rust out, and got a couple of tacks on these two pieces. But that's basically the gist of how it's going to work. I'm just going to weld it to the better metal that's on there, and it should be all right. And hopefully that'll be, I think, as far as I know, that's the last of the major repairs. I did find one other place in the engine compartment that has a little hole in it. It's right underneath this the heater core. A hole rusted. I think there was there was like a bolt sticking out there, but it was like a grounding bolt or something like that for the body, and I think that's what that wire attached to. So it attached the frame to the body, so the body had a good ground on it. But anyway, that was all rusted. That was all rusted so bad that I just pulled that nut or that stud right off of right out of the wall. So I'm gonna have to cover that hole up and clean up some of that rust down there. But the rest of it looks all right until you get down to underneath of it where the other body mounts are and stuff. I think the body mounts, definitely a couple of them need to be fixed, but I'm not going to deal with that until later. What I've decided to do is just clean up this front frame and get to what I can get at easily without tearing it apart too much. Like, for instance, I'm going to replace these shocks while I'm up here and while the engine's out. I'm also going to replace the bushings in the upper control arms. That's all looking pretty nasty, but we did a little cleanup on the frame itself here, and this looks so much better than it did before. It's just got a kind of like a more smooth, I mean, there's a little bit of pitting, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. It was like, yeah, like that. And that cleans up real nice to something like that with this tool I got. This really cool tool I got. It's a needle descaler for my air compressor, and it's like little jackhammers. Or little magic fingers, and they just kind of rattle around, like jump back and forth, and they just tear the rust right off the scale, right off of the big frame parts. And they'll poke through any part of the metal that's really bad. That's why I cut as much out of that thing as I did. There's like a little hole right here in the front that I don't even know if I'll bother patching, because that's really the only weak spot right there, and it's so small. The rest of this is strong, and so is this and this. And so I think it's just like, I'll consider it one of those holes or whatever that aren't really needed or anything. But anyway, that tool is awesome, and it's going to let me clean up the frame, the little mounting points for the control arms, and and the rest of the stuff that I can get to. But I got a kit. This is really cool, actually. I got this kit from, it's a Hyperflex Systems. Energy suspension Hyperflex system. And this thing has all the bushings that I'll need to replace in the truck. It's awesome. It has, of course it's from Summit. It has like all of these, it's like, what are those? Those are for the control arms, I think. Those might be for another set of control arms. Those might be for the rear leaf spring bushings. It's got all the body mounts in here. All the body mounts are these red polyurethane. It's got brand new. Those are for the stabilizer bar and stabilizer end links. They even give you new metal for the end links. That's really cool. And little dust covers for things and stuff. I mean, it's just awesome. They give you some grease to install. Oh, and a sticker. I got a sticker for my truck. I'll definitely be putting that on. That's awesome. Anyway, that I'm gonna be able to install quite a bit of that up front there. Like I said, I'm not gonna do the bottom part of the lower control arms until I can move the truck around. The problem with that is I have to take the torsion bars off, and in order to take it off, like, I could probably do this side while I have enough room over here, because you got to get underneath the truck there and take the torsion bars out. But like, this truck is so wide, my garage is so narrow, I barely have any room on this side to work at all. So in order to do that sort of stuff, I need to be able to move the truck around. So I figured I'll just put off the lower control arms until I can actually move the truck around. And because the bushings on all of these things are just, whoa. I'm gonna see if I can get a better shot of this, but yeah, you can kind of see some rubber in there, but not really. Like, it's all, it's basically gone. Not that this wasn't riding too bad. I don't think it was riding too bad. That one looks like it still has a little bit of rubber left, but it's, you know, I mean, they're original. Those are, I'm pretty sure they're all original in there. So I'm gonna replace the upper control arms, the stabilizer bar bushings, the stabilizer bar end links, everything that's up top, basically, from that kit that's out here, and then I'll be happy with doing that much before I put the motor in. Just because these sections right here, I was talking to James about this, but these sections right here are actually kind of like halfway in the engine compartment and halfway not. And I remember it being a pain in the ass to do even just the shocks on James's S10 Blazer, which is essentially, the same setup, except this truck is bigger, but it uses the same kind of hardware, these little funky little shock absorber hats and everything like that. And I remember, like, one guy had to go up top so that they could hold the nut and that, you know, reach in from the engine compartment. And then one guy had to go from underneath just to get a wrench on this other thing. So it's kind of like, I don't know, man. They're not in a really good place to work on in general with the engine in there. But with the engine out, it's actually very convenient. So I'm going to do that, as well as these upper control arms right here, just because they're really easy to get to. And same with the sway bar and everything like that. So I'll get to the easier to reach stuff from here at this point. And then, other than the rust repairs, I think that's as far as I'm going to go until I start actually getting a coat of paint on these frames. I'll get them cleaned up enough to get some paint on everything in here so that it's nice and clean and everything for the engine to go in. And then start actually putting everything back together and worrying about wiring things up, which should be a hoot.